Mark Brown.
And I'm Markway McCullough. And this is Mark My Words.
You're not making shots. He said, just focus on something else. He said, we know you can shoot. Everybody knows you can shoot, and it's going to come. But I think that you putting so much emphasis on getting out of this slump that it's making your whole game be bad.
Right. All right, welcome back to Mark My Words, ladies and gentlemen. Man, we got a special guest here, Ian Clark. Man, Ian, it's been a despite COVID, man, it's been a hot summer.
Yeah.
It's been a hot summer, man. I mean, from training to 615 Pro-Am, man. You've been killing, man. You've been killing, man. Kind of, pretty much been here in Nashville, which obviously you're not a stranger to.
Yeah.
Being at Belmont, man. How's Nashville treating you?
So far, so good, man. Like I said, I've been here for about 3-4 months now.
Yeah.
Well, I got here right after Memorial Day.
Right.
And I came out here, man, and I actually linked up with Maul, and he's actually one of the first guys to kind of have a gym that I knew that was in the city with everything going on. So, I got linked up with him, and push come to shove. I mean, it's been, like I said, 3 months rocking where we're going, every week. So it's been good, man. Been locked in.
So how is that? Obviously, that's family. Maul and Spence, but I still catch myself kind of as like a spectator. Yeah. And even when I go in there, it's just like, man, the energy is always here. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like when you walk through these doors. One, it's a blessing because it's one of those situations where you can have X, Y, and Z going on, but when you walk through those doors, all that kind of gets put on the back burner, and it's just a breath of fresh air. Energy's always good. It's always up, and we about to grind for this next hour. Better. Right. But man, just kind of tell us how you formed a relationship with Jamal or Spencer or just all around game. Yeah. In general, just kind of tell us how the relationship.
Man, so I've been knowing these guys for a minute actually. There's been times where we've been in the gym together. Or I've seen them out at different outings. I wasn't as close with them as I have been this summer.
Right.
And it goes to Juice.
Juice.
Jaquez, shout out to Juice. But he kind of formed a relationship, like I said, when I got here and I needed somewhere to work out.
Right.
And they were the only people that he knew with the gym, gym availability, space, whatever location it was in. So we ended up going from there, man, but we hit it off like we've been knowing each other for 10 plus years. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like I said, it's been great. I've always noticed him from afar, actually, and we've had a couple of times where we encountered during the summer. Right. In certain like workouts, we had the grind week that we had out in Oakland. Right. And Jamal and Spence and those guys was out there. So like I said, we've been around, and we just never got a chance to kind of work together until now. And I would say, man, it's been one of the best things. Like, not obviously the work is great, but you got good people. Right. And that's what you want to be around. Like you said, that different kind of energy that you get in, no matter what you got going through. You don't have to bring it in there with those guys because it's all about getting better. You're going to make it fun. You're going to make it competitive, but you're going to definitely get your work done. Right.
And Maul is even a guy to where, he's going to push you to be better, but he'll challenge you. Exactly. Especially in, whether if it's ones or whether it's, 5-on-5, you guys playing, Maul going to talk his talk.
Exactly.
Get in you. He still can't shoot the ball.
Nah, he claimed he claimed he the only one that can lock me up, but he know what's up. Shout out to Maul.
Yeah, man. So you've had the likes of Scott Clark and Kendall Anthony and AP Alex Porters. Man, that's been a hot gym over there over out of Creek. Yeah. Not just from a Nashville, a city standpoint or a state standpoint, but would you say that nationally, maybe even nationally or around the country, that people like, oh snap, like it's some, they got some cooking down there in Nashville.
I think so too. And like, despite everything that's going on with COVID, I think this summer has been a bright spot. Right. I was saying this, like, this is my first time coming here and having that, like, the runs that we had was crazy. Right. The guys that was coming in, but just the quality of the runs, guys actually getting there and wanting to compete with each other, and you got people that come and watch. It was like a real pro-am, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing everything that's going on. So the exposure that I think the city is getting, because the guys are actually coming back here, and this is the first time, with everything going on, that everybody's together in one place. Right. Everybody's here trying to get in the gym, trying to work out. Right. So when you got that, and then you transformed it into, the runs where guys was getting after it and people wanted to see it, man, and it was getting national exposure. I think everywhere, especially over social media. So it was good for it.
Man, a birdie told me, man, that was, and maybe the guy behind the camera can attest to this, but man, if there was an MVP for the 615 Pro Run, Adison, who would you say the MVP would be of the 615 Pro Run?
Man, I'm gonna have to get that to Ian Clark. Hands down,
man. It was fun, man. I'll tell you, dog, I think one of the things that kind of had me going this summer was just the year that I had, going from, coming from China. When I first got there, man, I broke my hand, so I really didn't play a lot. So, I was out for 4 or 5 months. I come back, I play 2 games, and then, COVID happened, so I come home. So I really didn't have a chance to get competitive and kind of, I had a desire to play. I wanted to play. So coming back here was kind of perfect, especially right at the right time where, I think I missed maybe 1 or 2 weekends. Me and Ma actually talked about it last week. But when the run started and I kind of got to the runs, man, it was like it's like a kid in a candy store. Because I was like, man, I was happy to play. Like I was ready to just go against some of these guys. Some guys I never played before. I never played against Scott before. Never played against Darius before. Never played against obviously I played against Rob, but like I haven't played those guys in that kind of setting. It's different. Organized basketball to get out here and it's you got to hoop. For sure. So actually having that, was great for me, and that's why I felt so good. Just being out there ready to compete, man.
Yeah. So man, coming back home from China, in which we'll touch on that here soon. But coming back home from China and you're trying to get back on the floor, be healthy. And we're training, we're getting back in the swing of things. Obviously, you're a guy that, you're in the gym, you know what I'm saying? But mentally, what was your approach? And maybe this is a two-sided question, but mentally, what was your approach to not only just getting back out on the floor, but recovering from your hand as well? Because, there's a lot of times with injuries, you get back, you've recovered. You know what I'm saying? You recovered, you're 100%. Your trainers or your management team, whatever, you kind of get that green light to get back out there. But mentally, how did you approach, trusting your hand and just, man, like, we good. Let's get back out here and do what we do.
Man, it was just from the work that was put in before. I decided not to do the surgery route and just kind of let it heal on its own. So I had more of that kind of uneasy feeling or kind of hesitation more so when I was still there. Because I was getting back to the groove of things, dribbling the ball, man, just running, lifting weights, pick up heavy things, stuff like that. But by the time I got back here, I was feeling fine. I think so. My mindset more so this summer was more, prevention of stuff. So making sure I get stronger, so I won't have, any breaks or any injuries. You know what I'm saying? And I think, other guys can attest to this too. But this time where you really don't have places to go. Usually summertime, you want to go hang out and see, I want to, especially being gone, you want to go see family you haven't seen, see friends you haven't seen before you got to go back. So with this time, with everything going on, it's been easy for, speaking personally, me at least, to sit in one space and kind of, I had like not a mental checklist. Like, all right, what do you want to get done this summer? You don't have anywhere to go. You can hone in on a specific area, specific injury, a specific skill that I'm working with Maul, whatever the case may be, you have the time to do it. So for me, it was about getting my body stronger. I had took so many, like I said, those months off when our hand was hurt, I really couldn't do any exercise. So coming back here and being able to get with my strength trainer, shout out to Jordan, we can sit down and lock in on a program that's just for you. Boom. I can get that. And I get in a routine. Then you get in a routine with Ma where we're going 4 times a week. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things where you want to, and you see the progress. And you go to the runs, you go to the workouts that we've been going into. It's been great to just see the progress, personally. On the flip side of other people saying that they see it too. And it's a refreshing feeling knowing you put the work in. You know what I'm saying? So
obviously, first and foremost, it starts with you. You know what I'm saying? Ann had to sit down and come up with that list. Ann had to get out of bed. Ann had to, go to whether it be lifting in the morning and then going to a workout, and then you might run. You might get the runs later that day, but
it's hard, man.
But it's great when you have people in your corner, genuine people in your corner, like going back to Maul, man, I don't think I've ever heard anybody. I don't think I've ever heard a bad word of Maul.
Yeah.
And he just, like I said, obviously that's family, but man, great, genuine dude, and it's just, man, it's a blessing when you have, somebody or people like that in your corner that makes it easier to get out of bed. That makes it easier to go lift weights in the morning. That makes it easier to go, twice a day. It makes it easier to. I think I was on y'all's on Maul's live. Y'all had just worked out, and he was like, nah, you gotta get 20. You gotta get 20. You gotta get 20 in a row before you leave here today. It makes it a little easier to accomplish those things. Man, shout out to Maul.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, let's take it back, man. Let's take it back to and hopefully this doesn't seem too long ago, but man, let's take it back to high school. Germantown High School, man. Yeah. Big time scorer, big time player. Man, tell us about that.
Man, high school was a long time ago. Making me feel old, man.
It kind of stuck me. I'm like, ooh. Yeah, I graduated 2011.
Man, yeah, man, when I left around this time last year, when I left for China, was my 10-year high school reunion. Hate I missed it, but no, man, high school was fun. High school was fun, man. I learned a lot. Obviously, playing, not playing freshman, playing varsity your freshman year, you just kind of thrown into the fire. Me coming from middle school, I was 155 pounds.
Yeah,
soaking wet, if that. No, right. Probably not even that. Probably like 130.
Yeah.
Little kid, playing against, 17, 18-year-olds. So kind of jumping the fire quick, but it was fun. Learning and kind of progressing. We weren't that good my freshman, sophomore year. My junior year, we made some strides, and senior, we ended up making it further than we ever did before. So seeing that kind of progression with my teammates, that was dope.
Right.
But high school was fun, man. You just learn a lot about yourself. At that point, it's purely fun. Right. I didn't know anything about the recruiting process or how you get to college or how you get to the pros. It was just for me. It was I'm gonna go pro. Like it was just like it was a easy thing to say, like waking up and going to brush your teeth. It was just something that I just kind of knew. Yeah. Not know how I was gonna get there at the time, being that naive, but it was just like I just had that mindset. You know what I'm saying? And God willing, everything worked out how I prayed for it to do. But high school was fun. We had some talent, man. Talent coming out of Memphis.
Yeah,
it was tough to make it to state tournament, let alone win the state championship. So wasn't fortunate enough to do that. But
right. So as we get, as we further in high school, we are getting recruited. We are getting some interest and some offers and things like that. What was it in your later high school years that you began to learn as far as the recruiting process, not just from the athletic standpoint, but even from the academic standpoint. Granted, you went to Belmont University, which is known for its academics. What were some of the things that you learned in that regard?
I mean, going from, the academic standpoint, I mean, I think that started with my parents. It was more so like, if I couldn't, if it was my plan, it was, go to school, go to college, be a pro.
Right.
My parents was, if there's no school, there is no college. There is no. So, instilling academics, making sure I get my grades was first and foremost for my parents. So, and it became, important to me because I didn't want to, I wanted to be, smart enough. I wanted to have enough knowledge to where I could go. I would fit in. I would know what I'm talking about, or have the knowledge to understand to go read about it and make sure I do.
Right.
So that started then, from high school, and I had maybe one hiccup my freshman year of high school when it was something bad on my report card I brought home, and this first time my parents had really threatened me like, if you don't get this grade up, you're not playing basketball. Right. So I was like, all right, let me get this under control, and I was fine after that. But as far as the recruiting standpoint, it wasn't until I got deep into AAU is when I really found out. Going to play that summer ball, going to the Peace Jam and all of the Nike tournaments and everything like that. Being around some of my teammates that were getting highly recruited. I was just one of the guys who was just there. I wasn't getting highly recruited like those guys, but hearing their stories, hearing the Dukes and North Carolinas and the Memphis and things like that. It's like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm happy for my guys, but also I'm learning like, so this is what they look for. This is what coaches is looking for. Right. This is what when I get out into those games, it was making sure I didn't do too much, but I showed what I could do within the will of the team. I didn't want to do too much. Be like, I got these guys on my team at the time that were better than me. Right. So what was I? It would look weird if I went out there and tried to be the guy when they came to see the guy. Right. So
and let's touch on that because we're in like a society or a basketball world to where you have amateurs or younger kids that they see James Harden or they see a Stephen Curry or a LeBron or they see these guys executing all of these moves. The James Harden step back or whatever is probably one of the more popular ones. Or you see somebody like James Harden who dominates the basketball, and kids implement that, whether they watch it, whether they see him on TNT or whether they see him on 2K. You have these, or even from a training standpoint, you see some of these guys training, and it's a lot of pounding of the basketball, or doing these elite moves, and it's just kind of like one of my concerns is, okay, I'm not a dream killer. I don't want to put a ceiling on you, but first and foremost, how many shot attempts do you actually think you'll get in the game? Whether they add the shot clock in high school or not, but for more so on the college level, you got 30 seconds. Of that 30 seconds, we'll really trim it down to 25, 24 once you get the ball in the front court. Out of 25 seconds, how much time are you gonna have to do that? You get what I'm saying? And it's, or going back to you playing on a team that was pretty stacked. You have guys that can do certain things, or that they bring this puzzle piece to the table. How, and it's just, it's one of those. It's kind of hard to say because it's like I said, I'm not a dream killer, and I don't want to put a cap on a kid, but it's just I'm a realist, and it's just kind of like, man, you don't have. That's why it's 5 players on the floor. It's not golf. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like in golf, you gotta be good at the short game. You gotta drive. You do everything. It's all individual on you. Based, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You might have somebody carry your bag, but other than that, playing is you. Yeah, basketball. That's the beauty of team sports. I mean, you got 4 of the guys with the same jersey you got on, hopefully playing for the same end goal. You have 4 of the guys out there with you. One person brings this or that. Other person brings this, and so. But then it's just kind of like what is that one, or maybe what are those 2 things that you're really good at, or whether that you've mastered. Figure those 2 out and bring those to the table. But I think that's hard, and it's these right here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got instant access to, you can watch Ja Morant. You know what I'm saying? From the time Ja Morant wakes up, and just you can see Ja Morant throughout his day. You can see what he's doing in his workouts, and I think it's tough for kids to latch on to that with having instant access to all these different type of players, and then and you want to emulate those things that they do, but it's just, again, what's the likelihood or that you're going to be able to do that?
And what people don't understand too is you got young kids, 16. Like you said, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I don't want to be a dream killer, right? Or anything like that. I want everybody to make it as far as they're gonna make it. Mm-hmm. But you got young kids, and I'm say high school, say younger, that are implementing a guy that's a seasoned veteran. Right. He worked to get to that point to where he can do what he does, and we speak of James Harden as an example. Right. But he's worked on his craft. He's worked on that so much that it's second nature to him. And you're telling me that you're going to do this in high school so you can get. It's not. It doesn't. Right. It's not the same. Right. It's not the same. So, for me, like I was, sometimes everybody probably get caught up sometimes where they do too much. It's just part of the game. But I tried to learn at an early age that wasn't probably was going to get me to where I wanted to go. being that guy, like you're saying. And I think now that we just talking right now, and it kind of dawned on me when I was thinking while you were talking. At every level of my career, I've been in that position. Right. At some point, we can go from AAU to the guys I played with. High school was more, I was more the guy. Right. Obviously, it was most guys are.
Would you get a lot of kids like that? Like in high school, you may be the guy, but when you go to the next level,
and can you translate? Can you play with better players, guys that are similar skill quality as you? Can you make it work in there? Some guys battle with still being the guy that they are in high school. Right. I had so go from the AAU level to college to where I was a hot guy coming in as a freshman, but we had a couple years where we were just really good. My sophomore year, we were 30-4. Right. And we sub 5 in, 5 out, and it was just games was easy, but we learned to play because we were so talented, we were so deep. Right. And obviously, we moved to the NBA, and I'm playing with Golden State, and it's like you got 4 or 5 all-stars that you're out on the floor with. Like, why would I pound the ball? Why would I do too much? I have to, flow. And obviously, it's, as everybody say, is coming from a guy that was there. It's easy to play there because of the guys on the team, not because we were talented. Everybody's talented, but can you play together? Right. Can you be talented and play together? And that was a big thing from being a core part of the team. You have to know how to play basketball, not score. People can score, but can you play basketball? And that's why I think the disconnect is nowadays with the younger generation. And some guys get it, but some guys it takes a little longer. But things move so fast now that some of these kids ain't got longer. You got to know now, or you're not gonna be ranked in top 10. Now, if you're not top 10, you're not this. You don't go to this school. Like it's a lot of things that go into it. Yeah. That I'm glad that at some point, like I didn't have to really deal with for real.
So, man, 2 words that come to mind. When I think of Ian Clark, man, is 1 is preparation, and 2 is consistency. Going from Germantown, at Germantown and even Belmont. It sounds like you found those 1 or 2 things that you seem to master or be really good at. One of them being shooting the piss out of basketball. What kind of paint that picture, or what are some words you would give kids to, in which we may have been tapped into it, but I just, at the end of the day, if you can shoot the basketball, you have a chance on anybody's roster. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere. Especially when you can stretch the floor, you got a chance on anybody's roster. And also a guy that can play without the basketball, whether it be cutting, run the floor, screening. And obviously, that's more, once you got to Belmont, that's Rick Bird 101. Yeah. But again, when you're on social media and you're seeing these guys, dribbling around cones, you don't really get that, or you don't really think that, or you're not really put on game. You get what I'm saying? Like, nobody, and I think we all fall accustomed to it, but it's, you don't go to, like, you wouldn't go to work out with Maul and expect Maul to, all right, Ian, we got 3 sets of 30 down screens. Yes, exactly. No ball though. No ball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No ball, or is it, I just need you to, go screen that chair and if he curls, or if he, back court, or if he straight cuts, you react to it. Yeah. Those are not really things that you would expect in a workout, but it's one is fundamental. And that's probably more of the average person game than it is somebody that wants to be ball dominant or pound a basketball. How for you at Germantown and even at Belmont, I guess how did that click in your mind that, okay, yes, I have these qualities, or I'm good at these things, but if I master these, that'll increase, whether it be playing time or your skill level, or just your efficiency, player efficiency on the floor. How did you come about with that?
Man, it was 2 things. It was, I think for me, the first thing I would say is coming from high school to college, just the quality of players. Like, it's a big jump. and not in a bad way. Just some people are just more advanced and more skilled. That's why you have, you know, D1, D2, XYZ. Right. But getting to the D1 level and knowing that in high school, you know, I was considered the man. So I was, you know, I had the ball in my hands a lot. You know, score the ball, could do everything. When you get to college, especially my freshman year, you finally see how good you really aren't yet, you know, until you have to work to get there. So when I got there, when I got to college, more of the competitor in me, more so than the teammate when I first got there, was, all right, let me see how much better I am against my teammates. Right. And when you go and see, and when we go play, you know, we play 5-on-5 to pick up, or, you know, when we get to the games or whatever, you see, okay, well, this guy does this way better than me. So now I need to get better at this because I don't want to slack in this division. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I got, like, so for me, like, obviously you said I was able to shoot, but what else could I do? So that was my first thing. All right, if I can shoot, but he can shoot, but he can dribble better than me, he's gonna play more. You know, so I need to get better at my ball handler or whatever the case may be. But that was kind of my mindset. And then it was, you know, as I got to college, it was, you know, don't become one dimensional. So do something, you know, they kind of tied hand in hand. But it was, if I want to play at the next level, when you start to understand things, like I was, you know, smaller for a 2-guard. So I got to be able to one. If I'm one, I got to be able to handle the ball. It goes back to that. It goes back to, all right, if you're not making shots, what else you gonna do? You gonna rebound or you gonna play defense? So it was a thing for me to harness on making sure I'm better at guarding the ball, like things like that. If I don't have the ball in my hands, Coach Bird, great offense. We ran a great offense for years. But it wasn't until my end of my junior year and most of my senior year where he actually let us do ball screens. It was, you know, 4 out, 1 in. So therefore I had to learn, coming from high school, you know, being ball dominant, to getting and I'm now moving the ball around the perimeter, going to screen, cutting, you know, playing without the ball. So all of those things kind of played into it, and I learned a lot of that at Belmont.
Word to Coach Bird, man. Head coach. Legend, man. Probably Hall of Fame inductee.
Oh, for sure. So, easy.
Man, so over the course of your years at Belmont, man, we're looking at, you know, freshman of the year, all conference honors throughout your 4 years. What was it? I think I seen co-conference player of the year. I think you had, what was that? Then Isaiah Cannon came out with you. Great player at Murray State. Yes, sir. But one thing that stuck out to me, man, I'm gonna be honest.
I know what you're finna say.
I'm gonna let you spill.
Go ahead. I know what you're finna say though.
Man, defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Come on, fellas, ladies. Man, that's, you know, that speaks for itself. You know, I mean, it's one of those. Obviously, there is some technique or footwork, or, but I mean, that's what was instilled in me, man. Is, you know, 90% of defense is just desire and effort. You know, kind of in the basketball where, you know, there's kind of a stipulation on shooters. You know what I'm saying? You know, they be kind of soft, or they don't play defense. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, that wasn't the case for you.
Yeah. Man, it kind of got instilled in me, man. It was an embarrassing kind of thing, to be honest. When it started in middle school, and I know I'm going way back. But, Paul Edwards, Coach Edwards, my middle school coach, who helped me, man, more than a lot of people know. Growing up early on in my, you know, when I started playing basketball, you always say, man, I can't play no defense, play defense. You know, and it was, at the time, like, I probably couldn't, you know, I didn't understand it, or I was too little, or whatever the case may be. But it was always something that stuck with me. And it was like, all right, you keep saying I can't do something, let me prove to you that I can, or let me get better at it, because I don't want to be the laughingstock. I don't want to be the guy that you call the ball screen on, like, hey, we're going at him because he can't guard. Like, you don't want to be that guy, no matter who you are. So going from there to, you know, throughout high school and my first few years of college, and then it got to my junior year, and it stuck out. And I was kind of getting to that, you know, conversation right before this, but my junior year, not becoming one-dimensional, I went through a stretch where I shot it terrible, and like, not, you know, coming to after the games or going to my dorm room or my apartment and being like, man, who am I? Like, I know I can shoot the ball. I would go, it's one of those times where you get in the games and you miss everything, and you go shoot right after and you make everything. It's like, okay, well, what's going on? Right. I went through a long stretch where I was just, I wasn't making shots, and Mark Price was the assistant at the time. Coach Price, me and real close, and he brought me in his office one day and we talked. And he was just like, "Yeah, man, I know." Like everybody else is kind of keep shooting, blah blah blah. Giving you the stuff that you already know. Right. But for him, kind of seeing how frustrated I was, man, and coming to me and just being like, "Hey, I think something that'll help you," and it was something so simple. Right. But throughout the midst of me trying to get out the slump and hearing all the talks and, oh well, he probably not that good. Everything just at that point, anything was coming into my mind. Right. And so he was like, man, for him to say something so small, I was like, hey, you're not making shots. He said, just focus on something else. He said, we know you can shoot. Everybody knows you can shoot, and it's going to come. But I think that you're putting so much emphasis on getting out of this slump that it's making your whole game be bad. Right. If you're not a shooter, then what are you? Right. And that's what I had to look at that's what I said to myself. If I'm not a shooter, then what am I? Right. So how else do I stay on the floor? So he challenged me to guard better, and say, man, do something else. Play defense, get a rebound, get a couple steals. Then you won't even think about scoring, right? And it'll come back to you naturally. And I end up doing that in my junior year. That's my first year that I got Defensive Player of the Year, and it was just something that it helped me kind of transition in that little phase. Man, it was just like, all right, well, I'm doing something good because I'm guarding the best player, or I'm getting the stops that we need. Right. If I ain't making shots, somebody else making shots, but I'm benefiting the team in some form or fashion, like in some matter. And it just carried over from that year to the last year in the Adison when I won it, and I won it again, in the OVC my senior year. Right. And it was just like, man, it was a challenge, and I want to stick up now that I had the reputation that guys would kind of come at me, and it's like, all right, well, I really got to guard you now. Yeah. So I had to, it's one of the things where you just kind of, it was self-motivating after that one little, jump start by Coach Price. So.
I mean, going from, the ASUN to the OVC, both solid, pretty good conferences, but, in the OVC, it's kind of that's kind of a hot spot. Yeah. For, dynamic guards. Who was if you can remember, man, who would you say your toughest matchup was?
Toughest matchup, man. It was we had some battles. Yeah. In that you mean the OVC or the ASUN or both?
Both.
Ooh, ASUN was tough. Yeah. We had some. My freshman year, we had. Lipscomb. We played those guys. Right. It was tough, but as far as like me personally, my matchup. That's tough. Yeah. ASUN, it was hard to remember. Right. OVC was more recent. It was Isaiah, obviously. Right. Mike DeNuno, if I'm saying his name right, I'm not sure. Yeah. A heck of a player, though. He played at Eastern Kentucky. Right. Guard, small guard with handles, could shoot it. Yeah. We had some battles. Right. Patrick Miller at TSU, obviously him and Rob and those guys. Those were the fun matchups, man. It was you get in there and we was the newcomer team coming in. It was like, oh, well, they ain't finna come over here and kind of win this.
And then you got that stamp of that target on your back as well. Yeah, as a defensive stopper. Yeah,
so it was like, all right, let's see what they made of. And it was a fun ride, man. It was fun. It's fun kind of getting into a new. I'm glad we end up. My only year there, we end up winning the conference and winning the title, but it was fun.
Yeah, but I ask it, man, because we're in a we're in a day now, in which it's kind of disappointing. You kind of see, and one thing I love is, just the love that everybody shows each other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll see somebody out, or you'll see somebody. Most of the time, you see somebody on social media. And you'll share their post, or everybody the goat symbol and all of that emoji or whatever. But my concern is the lack of competitiveness. In which I've seen all three of those guys that you mentioned actually got to play against Isaiah Cannon my freshman and sophomore year in the exhibition game. And I mean, that was a guy like, man, you had to strap up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You had to strap up and like, you know what I'm saying? Or he was just gonna abuse you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean, you kind of see kids kind of shine away, you know, maybe from certain matchups or, no matter whether it's AAU, whether if it's, you know, working out, whether if it's a tournament, man. I watched something, or I seen highlights of something, and there was a kid, man. He was just skipping down the lane. You know what I'm saying? Like guys just kind of, it was almost you know, I don't want to be that kid on the highlight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But nah, man, you know, you don't get respect from being passive, or you don't get respect from you know, sharing his posts. Nah, man, you get respect from, you know, competing against him. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get the best of him, and I think that's kind of my personal disappointment. And I'd say that it's all kids, but you see that more frequent than you did before. What do you think is the disconnect?
Like I think it's just it's a too cool factor.
Yeah.
You know, like you're saying with your phone, with social media, it's man, like I gotta look like this, and I gotta, you know, I had the swag, I gotta do this, I gotta do my videos, and it's like I gotta show that I'm not playing this hard because I know I can play harder, but it make me look like it's about how you look.
Right.
And you know, before that, it was really how you played.
Right.
I mean, not saying that obviously it still is now, but more so like we didn't have that, so we just go to the gym.
Yeah.
If you not good enough, or you get cooked, you're gonna get talked about. How you not get talked about? Don't get cooked. You know what I'm saying? So, or you go up against somebody and you had a, you know, you go up against guys and they might get the best of you one day, but you come back and you beat them the next.
Right.
You know, that's how you earn the respect.
Right.
From guys, from your peers, from people watching you, that's saying that you can really play or you can't. Like, you don't really need that. You just, like, for me, it was, you know, whether it was in the neighborhood, whether it was in pickup in the summer, whether it was AAU, it was, all right, it's me against you. Right. Like, it's personal.
Right.
You know, until we get off the course, out of the lines, and we, you know, we can talk to them. I respect you, blah blah blah. But it's none of that. It's I want to see how good I am against you. If they say you this, just like we just talked about. They say I'm the defensive player of the year, then I'm finna score on him every time. Just show me the defense. Like that's kind of how your mindset got to be. And I don't think a lot of that is kind of gone now. You know, or it's not being as talked about as everything else is.
I mean, I'll second that too. I mean, you get a lot of, not just kids, but I mean, you get a lot of players. We've become more offensive minded.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and it's almost like, now nobody wants to lose. Yeah. Nobody signs up or nobody steps on the floor to lose, but it's like it's more emphasis on my shots, my shot attempts, or my stats. And you know, you'll get a kid or even somebody in his corner, whether it be his parents, friends, classmates, whatever. You'll have or spectators in general. You know, you'll have those people, or even the kid himself, more upset about his stats than the actual outcome of the game. I think we posed a question. It was like, would you rather be what was it?
I think it was, would you rather be a star player on a not so good team, or a good role player on a successful team?
I mean, for me, that's kind of easy. I mean, what you playing the game for? You playing the game to win, right?
Right.
You know, I mean, all that stuff is kind of good, but I mean, like, for me, it was like, love to win, you hate to lose. Like, my hate for losing is a little bit deeper than my love to win. Like, I don't like it. I'm really, really competitive, so I hate losing. It makes, like, when I was a kid, like, I would get mad, throw temper tantrums when I would lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? I would get real quiet, ball in my face, walk out the room. Like, I didn't like it. So, like, for guys, kids these days, players these days, some, not all, can't put them all in the box, but it's more so about, you know, me getting mines. And, you know, there have been countless of examples to where that if you win, everybody looks good.
Right.
You know, different teams throughout the years that have played, and you know these guys, the players on the team's names because they won, not because of how good they were individually.
Right.
So but they played their role right, and plenty of guys got rewarded for that. So that I don't understand why it's such a negative thing or it's not cool to do. Like everybody can't be James Harden. Right. Everybody can't be, LeBron James and Stephen Curry and Kyrie Irving. Like those guys are who they are because of who, like they're just who they are.
Right. But on that note, it's and speaking from a guy who was there himself, those guys make the headlines. Those guys are the faces of the franchise. But man, when you pull up these rosters and you start adding things up, it's way more role players and guys that complement the superstars than there are superstars. So again, going back to high school and that leading into college, and now we're in a pro. It's one of those it could be a little bit of ignorance and a little bit of naive to and then just being But we looking at that Clippers roster. You have a James and a Russell, but even a guy like Rob or PJ Tucker. Those guys are phenomenal role guys, and they make some pretty good money. At doing what they do.
It's a lot more space for those guys than it is for you to go in thinking that you're gonna be a superstar,
right?
And like not saying it's not have that superstars mentality,
right?
But man, it's a lot of people that can hoop, but it's a lot of people that can't play basketball, and it's a difference. Like
it's a bar right there,
man. It's really a difference, and knowing when to do certain things and when not to, or when to make the right play. It's always make the right play, but knowing the right play to make. At a certain time, or knowing the right shot to take,
right.
Or whatever the case may be,
right.
can be a determining factor in where you're successful,
right?
And what people are looking at you, because like it's crazy, like me being older now and watching some of the basketball that I see now with kids in high school. I was using for example, you can see like when you watch the 10 guys out on the floor, you can see what guys are gonna be really good,
right?
From 2 or 3 plays. It don't even have to be the whole game. Right. They can make 2 or 3 plays that that they know exactly what they're doing and why they did it.
Right.
And some people can be out there and be the most.
Yeah.
But that's probably where they're gonna cap.
Right.
That's probably where they're gonna end. You know what I'm saying? Unless they get taught the right way, whatever the case may be. Obviously, being in high school, you're still young. You have a lot of time to grow. So,
for sure. Not
saying that's end all be all, but you what guys are gonna be good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And like I feel like now is me. Like I said, me being older, like seeing that now,
right?
It's like it's night and day from what I thought. Like maybe I played like one of the guys that you probably wasn't gonna make. Somebody looked at me like, man, he's not gonna do it. He's not. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Granted, I probably learned something on the way, but it's crazy seeing that now when you can see a certain play or see kind of not their whole future, but what kind of player they might turn out to be just by watching them now. So
right. Now we're post college, post Belmont. We're in a summer league. Well, we go undrafted. Mm-hmm. We're in a summer league. I think we Utah. How was Utah?
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
Utah gave me a chance. Undrafted kid. Got a 2-year deal there. I learned a lot from my veterans on the team. Marvin Williams, my big homie for life, man. Richard Jefferson helped me a lot. Brandon Rush, John Lucas, Gordon Hayward, a lot of those guys, man. Just D-Fave, a lot of those guys on that team just helped me, become a professional.
Right.
In different ways. Not all of them was in the same way.
Right.
But learning how to, take care of my time management and learning, to come in and get your work in.
Right.
Being a rookie, how to do rookie duties, but also just watching guys work.
Yeah.
Their routines. Make sure you're having a routine. Make sure you're being on time. Like a lot of things that I was, grateful to have guys that was in the league for a long time back in the early 2000s.
Right.
and going from there to being, it was 2013, learning those as coming as an undrafted rookie, not really getting the attention that a drafted kid would get.
Right.
It was if he does or if he doesn't make it thing. It wasn't like we got to make sure this kid's going to be successful.
Right.
So I had to pick up little things on my own. So Utah was one of those. I didn't play much. I had spurts, but it was more so of, for me, I loved it because it was a learning curve for me to learn how to be a professional in the league.
Right. So. That may be something, even going back, to being younger, being in high school, like you said, it was, we just waking up thinking about the league when we're not really, we're not thinking about that professional or the business side or aspects. Would you say there was any correlation? And by that I mean, in high school, like we just hooping. So we having fun. We just waiting on Tuesday and Friday night.
Yeah.
But as far as going to the next level, it's more than just what you're doing. Now that's a lot of the battle. You got to be able to play. You got to work on your game. This, that, and the third. But with this, we're talking about academics and college and testing, the ACT, and just education. You know what I'm saying? All of that that goes into making it to the next level, which is college. But now we're in the pros. It's not just basketball. You know what I'm saying? As a professional or business side to being in the NBA, is there any correlation between the two?
Yeah, man. It's learning how to carry yourself.
Right.
How to be a good teammate. You're not representing yourself anymore. You represent the organization. You can't be going out doing something. I couldn't be going out doing something, crazy with Utah Jazz sweatshirt on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you got to know how to control yourself and control the people that you're around. That's a big part of the battle, I think, too. Is just because your friends are a reflection of you.
Right.
So if they come, if my friends came to Utah or family or whatever the case may be, and they was an extension of me going out acting crazy, right, that's a red flag. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of those things, you kind of learn in high school. You learn the sportsmanship, right, and teamwork and everything like that. But all those things play a big part in being a professional, because you're expected to know those things when you're a pro.
Right.
It's sometimes if you're young, guys are getting younger and younger in the league now. But I came in as a 22-year-old rookie. I went to college for a year, so there was no way that I shouldn't know some of these things.
Right.
Like I'm supposed. It was a no-brainer for me. I had to know how to be respectful and how to carry myself in the locker room, be on time, all of those things, on top of, like you said, working on your game.
Right.
Trying to get better, being able to be out on the floor. So,
right.
And that's being able to stick in the league. A lot has to do with those qualities,
right,
on top of being able to play.
Right. And
guys don't understand that. Like, if you're a good locker room guy, you're a good teammate. Your names get brought up a lot more than somebody can just put the ball in, and that's a headache in the locker room. You know what I'm saying?
I tell kids, going back to the example, you hear a kid, man, I can do X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, this kid may only could do X and Y, but he doesn't come with any baggage.
Exactly.
I know he's going to show up on time. I know he brings something else, non-basketball, but I know he brings this to the table. I know he's going to raise my team GPA.
Yeah.
I know he's going to represent my team, me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Because you as far as college, you got recruiters. You know what I'm saying? If you bring in a knucklehead, not only is he, all right, man, it's time to ship him off, you might be out the door with him because you brought him.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But again, those are the type of things that I wish that not only just kids but parents kind of tap into and gain knowledge of, which hopefully with this podcast, hopefully we can disperse that. But man, we're after Utah, man, we're in the Bay Area now.
In the Bay Area, man, I was actually here. This was 2015, and got the call to go to the Bay Area. Them coming off the championship, right, too, so it was one of those things where I was you know, the youngest guy on the team, obviously the new guy on the team, and it's another one of those things where it was learning from those veteran guys, and just helped me expand my game that much more. On top of watching Steph, watching Clay, you know, watching Andre, watching Draymond, watching those guys, watching KD when the next year, watching Sean, Leandro Barbosa, D West, man, those guys, man, like people say, you know, oh, we should have won, but it was a reason why. It's because of those core guys, and learning from those guys and being able to enhance my play the next year, to be able to be in a rotation, man, and ultimately win a championship. You know, it was no greater feeling, no greater feeling. But it's literally everything was laid out on the table for you. It was like, do you want this knowledge? It's literally right here. All you have to do was, man, get up and get to practice earlier, stay late.
Which, you know, going back to, you know, we said, you know, a little while ago, you know, talking about Maul, and you know, your strength and conditioning team, is you know, winning an NBA championship, or even, you know, being a Golden State Warrior. There's nothing easy about that. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're rubbing elbows, you're in locker rooms with elite players.
And that was the, I didn't even cut you off, but that was the biggest thing that people didn't understand. Like, everybody thought it was, oh, well, I can go, it's so easy to play here. And it's not. You know, like, yeah, you playing with those guys and those guys are good, but you have to be that much better to even be on the floor with those guys, let alone, you know, being in a rotation and playing with them. So, like you're saying, you in elite company, so you go in there and you don't have your A game, but you got these guys is coming in and they're making sure they're working on their game, or they're playing at a high level every day, even when we're in practice, competing, or we on the floor. You got to be ready. If not, then you're gonna come sit down and gonna find somebody else to do it. So it's a bigger thing, a bigger monkey on your back than people realize. Like, obviously when you're playing, you don't really think about it. But, you know, when I left and looking back in and kind of, you know, you would hear, so like, man, well, who wouldn't play well there? Well, like, a lot of people can't, and it's because of that factor, man. You gotta, you know, you don't. For me, it was don't be that guy. Don't be that eyeball out. They already won. My first year, they had already won the championship, so it was like me coming in. It wasn't like I didn't want to, for any reason, be the reason why we didn't win next year, or I couldn't look at it like I didn't come in here and get better. I have no choice. You know.
And even, so, even going back to, you know, those two words, man, preparation and consistency. You know, you mean, just there's a lot of gyms you walk into right now, and, you know, you kind of be, you know, you are that guy. Man, what was it like to, you know, having the success that you had, high school, college, even early NBA, having the success that you did, but, man, now, you know, continuing to just talk about elite company. You know, like I said, you know, Maul joking with you, man, you know, and you can't lead till you hit 20 in a row. Where to, I mean, you got a guy like Steph, and I mean, that's a snack to him. You get what I'm saying? Like, but mentally, what was your approach to? Because I mean, it's one thing, you know, and I can only imagine. It's like, okay, I'm here. This is the culture. This is how they get down. So, you know, if so and so is in the gym 2-3 times a day, you know what I'm saying? I got this goal set across my chest. That's what's expected of me. But what was your, more so on the mental aspect, what was your mental approach to working alongside of a Steph, a Clay, a Draymond, as well as competing against those guys in practice?
It was a win-win for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my approach was, don't try not to be as shy as, don't be shy. Ask questions. These guys are like, you know, your teammates. Like, when I remember when I first got there, you know, in practice, practice locker room, my practice slot was next to Steph's. And I was just like, my first time there, my first day walking in the workouts, and I was like, okay, like, this is cool. And he walked in, you know, said what's up to him. That was my first time kind of like meeting him. Kind of like that. I met him before, but it was a long time ago. But actually being teammates, and, you know, after that, you know, we started playing ones and stuff, kind of, you know, after workouts and stuff, but from then on, it was more so like, all right, I'm a give him my best every day because I want to see where I compare. Like this is the guy that's, top guy in the league, or one of my favorite players growing up. You know, I mean, being in high school and everything. So, let me put my best against him and see where I need to work. And it was just one of those things where it was respect. Whether it was, shooting competitions, whether it was 5-on-5 where I got to guard him, or I'm guarding Clay or whatever the case may be. Those guys didn't look at you differently, and they have the right to because they're elite. They're that elite, and people expect that of them to be bigger than who they are because people were like them a lot. But those guys are just as humble. You ask them questions, they want to help you. Them guys want to get better too. They might like something that you do that you probably would never know. And they probably add it to their game or whatever the case may be. So that was my mindset being alongside of them was just, man, try to get better as much as you can. Try to learn as much as you can. Try to, take pieces of their game and decide if it's working for them, see if it'll work for you. Also was you said consistency. Those guys, it wasn't a day where they didn't get their work in. And that was one thing that stood out to me. It was, a time where we had practice, I worked out, got my shots up after, and I went and just sat down and watched Steph. I just watched him. Like I didn't say a word to him. I just literally watched his routine after. And every day he had the same routine. Clay had the same routine. They all had their own baskets. And it was just like the consistent, you see why they make the shots that they do, or they are the players that they are because they put the work in. You just don't see it. They just don't do it. When the lights come on and on TV, they actually work on it. So, man, seeing that and trying to emulate that, and apply that to my routine and the way that I play the game and in my career is something that I'll never forget.
So is it? What's it? Something I say, man, and obviously it ties to the NBA, but I just think it ties to life, man. It's a difference. It's a huge difference, distinct difference between getting there and being there. Everybody wants to get there. And to a certain degree, you kind of, enjoy the ride or that grind en route to, whatever your goal or your dream is. This one being the NBA, millions of kids, starting out in junior pro and going off into middle school, AAU, high school, and then the fortunate ones to make it to college. That journey is fun, but that end goal, man, that's a whole different monster. It's a totally different monster. And you can even say that for the college level. You can even say that for the college level, man. When you get to, you're fortunate enough to make it to that one, even more fortunate to make it to, the pro level. Man, it's a difference in getting there and being there. Everybody wants to get there, but being there, it comes with a territory, and I think that's where people flatline. Figuratively. Flatline.
It comes with an expectation. Like, once you get there, it's about, like you said, it's about maintaining. It's about, longevity and being able to be consistent for however long you want to play, however long your career is going to be. And I think that some players get complacent. Others kind of, interests might just go elsewhere. And like I know, obviously I know what today is, being with Kobe, and one of the quotes that kind of stuck out for me, I can't remember exactly what he said word for word, but it was paraphrasing, but it was more so like, he was saying when he got to the league, and guys get a little complacent when they start getting money coming in the pockets, and he was saying for him, money was never the motivation. So he already knew he was going to be better than a lot of these guys because their end goal was play basketball, get money, be cool. Which is, everybody has a different situation, want to feed the family, obviously, but he knew like money wasn't it for me. It was for me to be great. So I already got you beat in that standpoint. On top of how hard he worked and the grinding and the hours he put in working on his craft and being in the gym and everything like that. So like you're saying, where guys flatline is, you kind of lose that competitiveness or that desire, and I'm here instead of man, I'm here now, but that ain't it. Right. Now where I want to be.
Right.
So, for me it was, I didn't get drafted. I made it. I got the 2 year. All right, what now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What do you want to be better at after this stint in Utah?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to be better at after you leave Golden State when you got all this knowledge? You've been around all these champions and these elite guys.
Right.
What can you transfer now to when you go to New Orleans?
Right.
And when I go to China?
Right.
Things like that. So it's always for me, that's how I kind of kept myself going and motivate myself is, all right, what can you do better? What's next?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's kind of what helped me.
So moving on to New Orleans, obviously it's a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a different city. Solid team. Obviously there's no Clay,
mm-hmm.
Steph, KD, Draymond. But aside from those guys, what was the biggest difference between for Ian? What was the biggest difference for Ian being in Golden State and now being in New Orleans?
It was more so to how can you translate?
Mm-hmm.
How can you translate from not being on that team, championship caliber team, to going to New Orleans where we brought in a lot of guys my first year there,
right.
On 1 year deals that hadn't played together before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little unstable,
right.
but we made it work for the core guys that we had.
Right.
But it was more so like what can you bring from there to here? How can you translate? How can you become better?
Right.
Now it's not youngest Ian on the team no more.
Right.
Being in Golden State is now I'm a veteran. Now I got younger guys that are asking me questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's a different role for me, and it's a little weird at first,
right?
Because you get my early on years in the league, there weren't a lot of guys that were the teams I were on that were way younger than me,
right?
Maybe it would be a couple years at most,
mm-hmm.
but I was always considered one of the young guys,
right?
Until I really got to New Orleans. Now it was like, oh, you're one of the oldest guys. Like I heard you've had a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
More so than some of the guys that are on your team with you now. So how do you make that transition? And that's one of the things that I had to deal with.
Right.
And that was kind of one of the most challenging things on top of wanting to win games and everything like that. And was going to the situation. We ended up making it to the playoffs that year and going to the second round and ended up losing to Golden State. But that was the biggest thing for me, that transition.
Right. And even, you haven't, you didn't have, I guess, the traditional NBA experience.
Mm-hmm.
You won a ring, you won a championship, being in New Orleans, and now you being kind of that veteran. I won't say old head, I won't put that on you, but, you are that veteran. You being an NBA champion, I guess that kind of put any stereotypes or any that put not so much of a target, but that put did any stereotypes come with that? It was Ian Clark is an NBA champion, so okay, he must know this or he must be able to do this.
I mean, you definitely get a little you get brought up in more conversation,
right? Because
they kind of people want to know what you're thinking at that point, and it's not like. I had every answer to every, basketball question, but there was some stuff that I had been exposed to, I've been around that some people haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so of having, a guy like, I was there, Rondo had won the ship, Tony Allen was there, those guys too. So you got, 3 guys that won championships.
Right.
You kind of want to know what they think about whatever, it was a play, it was a defensive scheme or, how to run this or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You get a little bit more input,
mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's more so about learning. That's what I think it is. It's not about who knows more than who,
right?
Because nobody really knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's more so of just being able to accept and gain knowledge from your peers or from your coaches or from whoever your teammates, whatever the case may be. And that's the position that I was in New Orleans where, I was blessed to be able to, they asked me certain questions or how they felt about, you know, how we guarding this, or you know, what about this play, or stuff like that. And it's kind of cool, man, to kind of be in that position. So,
all right, so now, man, we'll fast forward to present day, man, in China. You know, man, we're in a new league. You know what I'm saying? We're in the CBA, in a new role. Man, we're in an entirely different country, man. How is that experience?
Man, that was one of the wildest things I've had to do in my 29 years of living. And obviously, you know, I've been overseas before, but it was, you know, for vacation, stuff like that. This time actually going to live. It was weird, man. I remember leaving. It was around this time last year, to be honest. Yeah. And I remember leaving. I remember, you know, getting on the plane and saying goodbye to my family, and you know, man, getting over there and being embraced in a whole different culture, being in, you know, 10-degree weather for months at a time, snow, and you know, understanding how they cheer for basketball, and you know, their passion, their love for the game, and how they express it, is, you know, it was different. So, but it was something that had to grow on me. You know, obviously being in America, obviously all of my life, and getting thrown into a whole different culture, and then being able to expect it to adapt, was a little different. But you know, from the non-basketball standpoint, I think that it was a great decision. It was a great opportunity. You know, who can say you've been to China? Like, I can look back in years from now and be like, man, I experienced living in a different country. But being able to, you know, you meet new people. I met, you know, friends that I'll never forget, people that I still in contact with. And then you flip to the basketball standpoint of, like you're saying, being a new role. Now the ball is really like, I'm excuse me, I'm older, but you kind of revert back to your high school days, when the ball is in your hands all the time, and you know, every decision is made from you, because you know, it's ball dominant now. Now you go back to what you've been learning this whole time, from college to the pros, to playing with those guys, to doing taking a step back and be like, hey, like, just hoop. You know, it was fun. It was fun, man. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I only played a couple games, but you know, when I first got there and I was practicing, and the 2 games that I did get to play it was fun, man. It just, like you said, it reminded you a lot of high school. No insult to the players, but more so personally for me, as far as I haven't had the ball in my hand that much since high school. So that's what made it feel that way, as far as like me just being able to free flow, and you know, if you make a mistake, you can get it right back, or you got time. You know what I'm saying? Instead of getting yanked or whatever the case may be. So
man, we're back healthy, going into year 2. Man, what are we looking forward to this upcoming year? Given COVID and everything is good, and we, you know, what we're looking forward to.
Man, for me, as far as, you know, where I'm gonna be and everything like that, it's a lot going on. Obviously with COVID, and with these leagues kind of finishing the start, not having really, you know, certain start dates and start times. I'm being a little patient right now. But as far as, like, you know, me personally, what I want to be able to go out and be a different player than I have before, in the sense of my preparation. Like, I think that coming off the injury and, you know, the game being taken away from me, and it sound cliche, but you don't know, you can't really, it's hard to say it unless you really go through it. And it got taken away from me to a point where it made me make sure that I wouldn't take it for granted. So that's why I've been, like, this summer has been such a focus for me to dial in and lock in and see significant change, and being able to implement that wherever I go next. And, you know, so that's where I am, you know, as a player. It's where my mindset is, you know, to get stronger, to get, you know, that much more skill, to add things to my game, to be able to, you know, whatever the case may be, make shots more, you know, be more efficient. All of that, being able to, you know, make that summer about just that, and seeing that me apply that into, you know, my game, into wherever it's going to be. So that's kind of where my mindset is, and that's where we are.
For sure, man.
In the present time.
For sure, man. So definitely looking forward, man. You know, just like I said, just kind of obviously via social media, but you know, man, just seeing you put the work in. You know, training, whether it be the pro run, whatever the case may be, even the, you know, strength and conditioning, man. Just you know, prayers up, man, for you. Sending, you know, good energy your way, man. Everything will work out. You know, on God's time, and then appreciate you coming through, man.
Appreciate you,
this
man.
This is big, bro.
Appreciate it.
Definitely had to get you back on.
Yeah.
Before we ship out. But before we go, man, any last words or words of encouragement, you know, to the youth, college guys, high school kids, not just guys, girls. You know, any last words and words of encouragement?
Man, I would say keep your faith. You know, that's one thing that helped me. But also, man, just have fun with it. With what me and Mark talked about, you know, with the social media and your phones, and people get wrapped up in how they look all the time that you forget just to kind of enjoy the game. Yeah. And that was the beauty of it for me. Like, I had fun playing against or playing with, you know, my friends. Or being able to, you know, have a big game and just have fun with it. Don't worry about, you know, what's gonna happen, you know, years down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like, enjoy it, man. Put the work in, but enjoy it. You know, I know it's different time right now going on with school. Make sure you get your grades up, man, so you can play.
For sure.
Play your sport, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But man, like I said, I would just say, man, be safe and work on your game. Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Us U.S. people appreciate that.
Man, I can't, man. I wish I could, man, but that's tough to do. I've tried to learn the language.
Before we go, can you give us a word or phrase?
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
What's that mean? You can't check me?
No, yeah, I mean, it's hello. I think it's hi. It's just I know more greetings than I know anything.
Okay.
But like I said, it's crazy that I was over there for 5 months, and I've been gone for 8.
Right.
And it's that fast it gets away from you. Like,
we came back with something though. So ni hao.
Something little, man. Something little. Ni hao.
So, with that, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, man. And Clark, man, another great episode of Mark My Words. Y'all already know what it is. Make sure you subscribe to Ball All Day. Like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you on the next episode.